All right, welcome to your yoga mat. We're going to do a practice that's going to have a little bit of emphasis on your core. So remembering that's everything from shoulders to knees. So it's quite a bit of step, and it's front and back. So it's not just our abs. It's not just when we think about six pack. So thinking about strengthening our lower back, our hips, our glutes as well, and giving all of those areas not just strength work, but a little bit of love and attention. So if you have a block or a pillow or a book or something like that nearby, you might want to grab that. It's not necessary, but it might just give a little flavor to the practice. So it's up to you if you have that. And we'll start on our backs. So making your way on to your back. So whether you'd like to roll to one side or just help yourself down, whatever feels best to get there. And then when you get here, keeping your knees bent, maybe closing your eyes. And first just noticing your connection to the earth. You might even let out an audible sigh. So depending on how your day was, that might feel really good, and you could do a couple extra of those if that feels appropriate. And depending upon how your day has been, you might want to let your legs extend, kind of like we do in Shavasana with your feet wider than your hips, just letting everything kind of let go here. Or if it feels better to your lower back, more healing, you can leave your knees bent with your feet on the ground. So finding whatever feels better as you check in with your body. Noticing what's happening. Noticing any areas that are tight or achy, any places where you might be feeling a little tense. And you can check in with different parts of your body, so maybe your forehead, your eyes, your cheeks, the back of the neck, your shoulders. And anytime you notice as you're going through those parts of the body, if you notice that you're feeling like you're holding on or gripping a little bit, that you can just consciously try to release. So you might even shimmy your shoulders around, even here laying on the ground, or just let them soften into the earth. Maybe wiggle your fingers if you notice any tightness or tension in your hands or your fingers, maybe your forearms. Maybe a gentle movement for the legs, so that maybe just wiggling the feet around or curling your toes, scrunching them up and then releasing them. Letting go of any gripping or holding. And again, noticing your position on your mat, noticing the yoga mat and the ground underneath you, rising up to hold you and support you. And as you bring your attention to the different parts of your body that are touching the ground, can you bring your awareness into that little space just between you and the yoga mat? So it's super teeny tiny, but can you sink just a little bit deeper into that spot, into that place? Maybe 1% deeper into the earth, 1% deeper into your yoga mat. Allowing your body to fully rest and relax here before we start moving. And as you begin to become aware of this feeling of easefulness, knowing that you can come back to this place anytime throughout your practice. So even though we typically think about child's pose, and that's a great place to go anytime you need to, but you can come onto your back anytime you need as well. So knowing that as we move through the practice, no matter what is suggested or what poses we're doing, if your body needs something different in that moment, honoring what your body needs and offering that. Feeling that gentle rhythm of your breath as you breathe in and breathe out. And then when you're ready, you can allow your eyes to softly open. Coming back to this present moment, and I might just add in some more of those gentle movements that we were exploring as we scan the body. So maybe rolling your ankles or your wrists, shimmy your shoulders a little bit. Take a big good morning stretch, reaching your toes and fingertips in opposite directions, getting probably the longest you've been all day. And then exhale, letting the arms come down alongside the body. We'll bend one knee and then the other. And then drawing those knees in towards the chest. Giving ourselves a big hug. So already that might feel pretty good. And we can add in a little bit of movement here, rocking side to side or back and forth. So again, this is one of my favorite places to start my day. So I start my day usually with my knees in towards my chest. And this is a good place to come as we move through the practice, as we explore different poses and moves for our core. If we need to take a break, knowing that we can come here or rest anywhere that feels good, or find just a different variation. So taking our feet back down to the mat, we're going to start moving through bridge pose, bridge flow. So taking hands next to the body, feet are about hip bone distance apart. We're going to inhale, lifting the hips, creating that diagonal line from knees down to shoulders, lifting through the hips, strengthening glutes, lower back. This is a great way to strengthen your lower back if you've been experiencing lower back pain, and also opening the front of the body, so opening the hip flexors, which can pull on our lower back. So we've been here a little bit, so we're going to exhale and come down, and we're going to turn this into a flow, moving with the breath, using the inhale to lift, exhaling to lower, finding your own perfect rhythm. So we might be matching me, or maybe moving more quickly or more slowly. Every time we inhale, we're going to press into the four corners of the feet, using the heels to, as we push down, to help us lift up. Maybe even using the forearms, the triceps pressing down as well. So we've got a block nearby, and one option is to add that block in between our thighs, squeezing that block, so getting a little bit of isometric concentration for those inner thighs. Inhaling, lifting, pressing into that block, exhaling, lowering. Now, if that doesn't feel okay to you, you can take that block away. You can also explore with maybe which way you have the block. So I just turned it so that it's now at its second length, or so I have it at its second width, so that it's a little bit wider. So you might have it where it's at the first, I don't want to say first level, but the first option. And depending on how wide or how thick your block is, you might want to change it back. So if you pick one, that doesn't mean you have to stay at that option. And we'll do just one more bridge pose. And as we exhale, we'll lower. We'll notice what the lower back is saying right now. Notice what the back body is saying. Notice what the front body is saying after we've done that little bit of movement. So now we're going to take that block, or whatever support we might have. We're going to inhale, lifting up, coming into supported bridge pose. And maybe lifting the feet to the sky, So this is one option. You can come into supported legs up the wall, or if you'd like, you can stay here in a variation of bridge. So if you're here with your knees bent, it might be really nice to extend one leg, lifting that same side arm overhead, so you're really long on that one side of the body. Again, this is a great way to create some openness across the front of the body. So if you spend a good portion of the day sitting, this might feel really good. We'll stay here for just a couple more breaths. Although you might be in that legs up the wall, and that's okay too. But if you're here with me, we'll bend that right leg, bringing the right arm down, and then we'll switch to the left side. We're switching sides, doesn't matter which side you're on right here. One side might feel better in this pose than the other. One might feel a little tighter, and if that's the case, you can always bring the arm back down or bend the knee again. And some people like to have both legs extended at the same time, but that can be a little much on the lower back, so paying attention to how that feels if you decide to extend both legs. And we'll exhale, bringing the arm and the leg back into that starting place. And if you'd like, maybe lifting one leg up, switching sides. This is just an option, and again, some people may not like having a block underneath the sacrum. Might feel better with a towel or a blanket over the block, or just using a pillow or a rolled up blanket. Always a way to change it to fit your body. And if you don't like having that top leg extended, you can bend the knee. And then once you feel balanced on both sides of the body, we'll bring both feet back down to the floor. Again, pausing, noticing. There's so much power in those pauses. We tend to think that the poses are king and that the work is the most important part, but we gain so much when we pause and notice, allow the body to assimilate. So we're going to lift up, taking that block off to the side. We're going to go into a side-to-side windmill motion, bring our arms out to the side. But what we're going to do, again, is having the option to take that block at whatever side. So you can either have the skinny side, the wider side, between the legs. We'll take our feet about hip bone distance apart once again if we're not using the block. But if we are, the block kind of keeps us in position. Our feet are flexed, and we'll bring arms out alongside the body. Now, when we go to the front side, we're going to make sure that the back shoulder stays down. So we're going to exhale, coming over just to that place where we can still keep both shoulders touching the earth. And then we'll inhale back to center. Exhaling to that other side, again, still keeping both shoulders down. And then we're going to press that bottom leg into the block to help us come back up. So moving with your breath. And again, remember, if the block is helping you, leaving it there. If the block is too much, taking it away. Moving with your breath. Remember, we always want to pair breath with movement. So we're getting nice twist for the spine. So it's really healing for the vertebrae, but it's also a great way to create strength for our obliques and our abdominals. Especially when we pause there, and you can pause as long as feels good to you. So if it's too much, you can come back to center. Or if you want to challenge yourself a little bit, you might stay there an extra beat or two. We'll do just one more time to each side. Coming back to center, setting that block down and setting our feet down. And you can stay here with knees bent, or you can bring the knees back into the chest and give yourself another hug. Maybe even bring the nose up to meet the knees, curling into a tight little ball. And exhaling, letting that back of the head come down, and the feet come down. And we're going to roll to one side, making our way up onto tabletop. So when we come to tabletop, always remember we want to take a neutral position with the spine, placing shoulders directly above the wrist, hips above the knees, and we can pat our knees if we'd like. We can come to fist for wrist if we'd like. And after doing some of that work, we're going to first move through cat and cow. So big exhale, rounding the spine, bringing the chin towards the chest, rounding the belly, or drawing the belly in, and then inhaling, letting the belly drop. A cow pose. Exhaling, rounding, pushing the floor away, letting the shoulder blades draw away from the spine. Inhaling, shoulder blades come in towards the spine. So after that work we've already done, this might feel really good. And I invite you to stay here with child or with cat and cow, or adding in any of our other options that might feel good. So that might be some hip circles or wagging your tail. So asking your body, what do you need right now? What do you need in this moment? And you could explore a little bit. You might place your hands a little bit wider apart or a little bit further away. So now we're going to come back into our tabletop position. And we're going to take the left leg in front of the right. So knees are crossed, feet are out to the side. And we're going to come back to those circles. So a little bit of a circular motion for the hips. You can, again, maybe adjust your hands, walk them a little bit forward or a little bit wider. We're going to go a few times in this direction. And then we'll pause. We'll go a few times in the opposite direction. So this might feel a little funky or new or foreign because this is not a way we normally move. And that's what we're shooting for or aiming for here. We're trying to give our bodies a little bit of different. Rather than always doing the same thing, our bodies like to be surprised. We'll pause here. And then we'll go through cat and cow maybe 1 or 2 times. We typically have the knees directly under the hips. And now that our knees are crossed the way they are, you might be experiencing this a little differently. And again, if this is not feeling good to your body, you can always come back to a more standard version. But if it feels okay, just playing around and seeing maybe what new spaces we can create in the body. So now we'll switch. We'll bring our knees back next to each other, and then we'll take that right knee in front of the left. And same thing, exploring circles. And this might feel a little different in your hips, in your lower back. And anytime you need to, you could come to fist for wrist. If your wrists are getting a little tired, you can change it up. And then we'll switch directions. Maybe just a couple more rotations. And then pausing. And we'll explore that cat and cow again. So trying to balance things out by doing similar things on both sides of the body, but they don't have to be exact. At least offering it to your body, seeing what your body is saying in response. So always listening to the body. Coming back to our neutral tabletop, and we'll bring big toes to touch, taking those knees wide and sinking back into your choice of child's pose here. So listening to your body, listening to the breath, observing what's happening after we move the body in these different ways already. And again, we're focusing on the core, so maybe bringing attention to your belly, touching your legs or your low back, and then place around your sacrum into your hips. So we'll extend our arms forward. And then letting the forehead rest on the ground, rocking the forehead side to side, massaging the place between the eyebrows, our pineal gland. Setting ourselves up for a really good night's sleep. And from here, we're going to move through our half series vinyasa. This is a great way to focus on some strength for the core. So as we get ready to move through this, remembering just a few key things that we want to make sure that we're moving with integrity, especially integrity around the core. So anything that we're doing, we feel like we're sagging or our core is kind of falling towards the earth, or we're experiencing any low back pain, then just backing off a tiny bit. So we'll start first in a regular child's pose, extending the arms forward. Knees are in line with our hips. We'll inhale forward, coming into a kneeling plank, placing hands directly underneath the shoulders. And once again, we're pushing the floor away from us. And remembering, if this feels awkward in any way, or we're sagging or slumping here, really letting the belly drop, we would be much safer to come into tabletop. So that's an option. And we'll exhale back, inhale forward to your choice of table, or you can come into that kneeling plank. So we're just going to focus on this for a few rounds, exhaling back. We want to move again with mindfulness, pressing that floor away from us, not just flying through the movement, and really paying attention to what we're doing here. So we're creating some upper body strength in addition to core strength as we hold that, and exhaling back. Inhaling forward and exhaling back. This next time, we have the option of adding in a yogi style push-up, exhaling halfway down, hugging those arms in, or you can lower all the way down, and then we'll inhale up. So there we're really focusing on the strength of the back and the arms, our tricep muscles, exhaling down, and then inhaling up. So we're using our strong core to help us lower the upper body as one. So again, if we feel like we're lowering maybe the belly first and then the upper body, it would be safer to maybe, again, stay here in tabletop and do a push-up like this, exhaling and then inhaling up. So we'll try that version a couple times, inhaling forward to table, exhaling, and then coming back up. So there's always a way to modify, and there's no right or wrong way to do it. It's whatever feels good to your body in this moment. And then we're going to come back into child's pose, taking a moment to check in with the body. And again, if your wrists are feeling a little tired after some of that work, we'll give them a break. So you could be in child's pose, or you could be kneeling here like I am. Letting the wrists get a little bit stretch themselves. So as we move on, you can stay where we were, and any variation of that. So it could be the kneeling plank, or it could be tabletop, or we can lift into downward facing dog. So your choice of child's pose or downward facing dog here. And actually coming into downward facing dog for me, it might feel really good, since this is our first dog of the practice, to maybe pedal out the feet, saying hello to your calves and your hamstrings. So we'll take an opportunity to do that if you'd like to hang out in child's pose. You can add in any swaying or movement that you might like there. And then we'll find ourselves, find our way into stillness, either in that downward facing dog or child's pose. And if you're in down dog, we're going to imagine we have that block between our inner thighs once again, or you can actually grab your block if you'd like, but it's not necessary here. It's just that imaginary drawing in of the inner thighs. And then we're going to inhale forward to plank. So now we're on plank, we're in plank on toes, or it could be on knees. And then we'll exhale back into child's pose or downward facing dog. So we're going to explore that forward movement again, just a couple times. Inhaling forward to your choice of plank, kneeling plank, or tabletop. And then exhaling, shifting back. Inhaling to shift forward. If you're in plank like I am, really pushing the floor away from you, feeling as if you are like a plank of wood. And then we'll exhale back. You want to make sure that the whole body is like a straight line. Again, we want to avoid dipping or sinking through the middle. We'll inhale forward and hugging those inner thighs together, firming the thighs, the front of the thighs, the quadriceps. And we'll do just one more of any variation if you're still with me, or again, you take a break. And then we'll all lower our knees down to the ground, taking our hips back into any variation of child's pose. Again, you might need to move the wrists around, wiggle your fingers. Excuse me. From here, we'll make our way into another downward facing dog. Letting the heels reach towards the ground, remembering they don't need to make it there. Our goal is having a long, straight spine. So keeping your knees as bent as necessary to accomplish that. We'll inhale, looking forward, and then exhale, taking as many steps as you'd like to get to the front of your mat, coming into forward fold. Bring sway side to side like a rag doll. Letting your fingertips trace the earth, or you can hold on to your elbows. Softening the knees, we'll inhale, reverse swan dive. Exhaling, bringing hands together at the heart, coming into mountain pose. Letting our gaze come out over the tips of the hands. Inhaling, letting the arms come next to the body. So I'm going to turn to face you, but you can stay where you are. And we're going to work on creating a bit of space for the front of the body. So for the chest, the shoulders, and a little bit of back bending. So we're going to spread our wings or spread our superhero cape. We're going to inhale one arm and then the other arm open. So this is your imaginary cape. You can think of yourself as a superhero here. Now, you have different options. You can be this superhero. You can hold on to the backs of the arms, holding on like by the elbows. You can interlace the fingers, or you can just squeeze an imaginary beach ball. So a whole bunch of options there. So feeling those out, seeing which feels better to you. Do you want to be a superhero? Do you want to hug a beach ball? And the real key is that we're getting that back bend. So a little bit of back bend, shoulders are drawing in towards each other. Chin is dipping modestly, so we're not overly arching to look up or hurting the neck in any way. And then you can stay like this. I'm going to change to interlacing my fingers behind my back, because now we have the option to stay upright. Or if you'd like, as we exhale, hinging at the hips, so spine is long, coming into a forward fold. Now, if you're in that imaginary cape position, or you're interlacing fingers or holding elbows, your hands might be a little bit higher, coming up towards the sky. Still getting that opening for the chest and shoulders. But if that's too much, or you're caring for your shoulders today, you can lower the hands towards the ground at any time. letting the back of the neck hang long. Exhaling, we're going to release the arms down if they're not already there. Softening our knees. And then keeping that bend in our knees, we'll walk our hands up the thighs. And then very slowly with a strong straight spine, inhaling, coming all the way up to stand. So that was a nice opener for the front of the chest and shoulders. Now we're going to focus a little bit more on our core with a twist. So if you have your block nearby, you might want to grab your block, setting it in front of you. And our feet are now pretty wide. So we've got our feet maybe shoulder width or maybe even a little wider apart. And our feet are parallel to each other. Toes are spread nice and wide, and we have the four corners of the feet pressing into the earth. We might even lift the toes, taking an opportunity to spread those toes and feeling the arches lift. And then we're going to take our hands by our back pockets, down by our smiles on the backs of our bodies, those back-facing smiles. And we'll inhale, again, feeling that opening for the chest, but again, being really mindful to not crank the head and neck back. We want to imagine we've got maybe a grapefruit between the chin and chest. And we'll inhale here, softening the knees, exhaling, long spine, hands traced down the back of the legs, coming into a forward fold. Now your block could be at any height. Just having it directly underneath your face, taking your left hand on the block, or you can place it on the floor. But the block's nice because it brings the floor a little bit closer to us. We'll keep our knees soft, a little bit of a bend there, making sure we're not locking the knees out. We're going to inhale, and then as we exhale, twisting to that right side. That right arm can be lifted so that the arms are in a nice straight line, or you can bring that hand to the lower back if we're caring for our shoulders today. And we can turn to look up at the back hand, or we can let our gaze come down to the hand on our block. And then very slowly we'll exhale, switching sides. So now the right hand is on the block. Left arm is getting ready to move. Our knees are still soft. We'll inhale here. And then as we exhale, twisting to that left side. Now as we're twisting, we might notice this in the spine, the core, maybe even the legs. So you might notice it in one leg more than another. And then we'll exhale, bringing that arm down. As we inhale, we'll switch sides and we'll twist to that left side again. So we're going to go to each side a few times. You can move nice and slowly with me, or if you'd like to change sooner, that's fine too. But as you're coming in and out of these twists from one side to the other, noticing what happens to each side of the body. So notice how your legs feel, your neck, your spine, your belly. Notice what parts of the body are talking to you. So we'll do one more time to the other side, or if you need to balance out, that's fine too. Exhaling, we'll come into our forward fold. So anytime we're in forward fold, whether it's legs wider apart like we are now, or closer together, our knees can be bent as much as we need. Hands could be anywhere along the legs. We can have both of our blocks here, or maybe letting our hands rest on a chair, a low table. We're going to bend our knees once again, walking our hands up the thighs, so just above the knees, and then keeping those knees really bent as we come up with a long, straight spine. We'll heel toe our feet together, or maybe jump or hop, and we'll reach down for our block just to get it out of the way. So setting our block, maybe near the top of our mats, still keeping it available. We'll roll those shoulders. Maybe rolling them backwards a couple times. And then forward. We're going to step the right foot back, coming into warrior two pose. So that front knee is above the ankle. We want to make sure we can see that big toe inside the heel or inside the knee. And we'll flip that front palm to the sky. Inhaling, coming into reverse warrior. So still sitting into those strong legs. Sometimes when we come to reverse warrior, we might be more up here, but can you still sit into those strong legs? Looking up to that top hand, or if you prefer, you can look down towards that back heel. Getting space through the torso, space through those left ribs. And then exhaling, finding our way back into warrior two. We're going to bend that front elbow, bring the forearm down to the thigh, coming into side angle pose. And if you'd like, we can turn this into extended side angle by drawing that right hand, almost like zipping it up the body, reaching it overhead. So we can stay here with that forearm on the thigh, or we can reach for the ground, maybe grabbing our block. Again, those subtle changes might make big or small changes in how it feels in your body. So noticing which is your preferred way for right now, what feels good to your body. And then as we get ready to come out of this, we're going to inhale, coming back into warrior two. So bringing hands together at the heart. We're getting ready to do that on the other side. So you might want to move your block. And then we'll turn that left foot in, right toes out. And I'm just going to set my block here so I have it nearby. We're going to come into that warrior two. So you might be facing the back of your mat now. Let your gaze come out over those right fingertips. And again, sitting into those strong legs. So we've got a strong front thigh there. It's spiraling towards the pinky toe edge of the foot. The back foot is pressing into the earth. So both legs have equal weight, they're equally supporting us. We want to make sure that we're pushing into what we call the knife side edge of that back foot, so rather than collapsing into the big toe side of the foot, pressing into the pinky toe side. We'll flip that front palm upward. We inhale, sweeping into that reverse warrior. And again, noticing if your body naturally wants to try and come up here, can you challenge yourself to sit a little lower? Exhale, we'll come back into that warrior two. We're going to take that option for side angle pose, finding your choice on this side. Remember, we had several different options here. And letting go of that need to make both sides look the same. You might choose something different on this side, depending upon what your body's telling you on this side. And making our way out of here, we'll inhale, finding our way back into warrior two, bringing hands together at the heart, and then coming up, we'll step our feet together. So we're coming into our balance option. So for today, we're going to play around a little bit with dancer pose, but I want to think, at least my emphasis, and you may or may not play along, is going to be a little bit more on the glutes. We're going to think about the core, we're going to think about the glutes. You could be at a wall or at a chair for what we're about to do. So taking the left foot forward, the right toes behind us. So we're lifting off the back heel and squeezing into that right glute. So again, this might be why you might want to be at a chair or some type of support or a wall. And this already, if you're squeezing that glute, you're getting a little bit of work right here already. And we get to play with our kickstand here. So a lot of times when we do dancer pose. And we do have the option of coming into the pose, into the balance. And let's face it, we are balancing right now. So there's definitely balance going on here. So you might just play with that lifting and then feeling that contraction as you lift. Or maybe reaching for that back foot, taking the thumb, the bottom of the foot, coming into more of that traditional dancer pose. So that's your choice. You can play around and work on that little bit of glute strength, or you can come into the balance. So your choice. And if you come out of the pose, that's okay too. You can come back into it. And then we'll try the other side. So we're gonna do a little bit of hip circles or some twisting, whatever your body needs after that work that we did. And if you're really focusing on that glute strength, you might feel a little bit of awareness around that tomorrow or the next day. So we'll try the other side. So now stepping the right foot forward, coming onto the left toes. So again, if you're squeezing that glute right now, you're getting work and you're already in a balance. So we're in a balance, both knees are soft, maybe we're holding on to something. You could try lifting that rear toe, letting it tap. So each time we lift, we're getting a little contraction into the glute. And if we're really thinking about it, we can get that contraction just by standing here. So you know your body best, deciding which variation you'd like to play with. And then only if you want to take it further, we can come into that dancer pose. So when we come into dancer pose, we're getting, again, that opening for the hip flexor. So that lifted leg, we're really opening the front of that upper thigh into the low belly. And of course, we're getting strength for the core holding this pose. And then whenever you're ready, you can come out of this pose. Same thing, shake it out, move your body, thank it for whatever it gave you. And if you played along with me and you did that little bit of glute strength, I'm just gonna say you're welcome. and you might be testing me out tomorrow or the next day, but in the end, it'll be all good. So shake that out. That twisting feels really good to me right now. It might feel good to you too. And we're going to make our way back on the core. We're going to do a little bit more concentrated work for the core. So we'll come into that last mountain pose of the practice. Inhaling, arms come up. Exhaling, forward fold. And that might feel really good after what we just did. Just staying here and hanging out in a forward fold. Letting the knees bend, letting the belly rest on the legs. And we're going to step the left foot back and then the right foot back into a plank. Lifting into a downward facing dog. Lengthening the spine. If you'd rather, you can come into a child's pose here. Exhaling, we'll come onto our knees and making our way onto our backs. Again, you might want to keep a block nearby. And you can roll to your side, but since we're doing a core focused practice, it's up to you. You can roll to the side, or if you want to round like a C, using the strength of the core to lower. And we can actually test that by coming back up. So maybe lowering halfway and then coming up. This time we'll come all the way out. Rounding, lowering, bring the knees into the chest. Again, big hug. So we're going to now bring our knees about 90 degrees. And for what we're about to do, you might want to put a block in front of you, or you could be near a wall. We're just going to start to lower one toe, and then lift. And then lower the other. Now, the reason why I said about the block is if you have a block or something in front of you, you can use that as a target. So if you don't want to go all the way down, like you just want to go maybe halfway you could do that, or if you had a block here, you could stop and let your toes touch the block. And wherever you're letting your toes go to, making sure that you feel strong in the core. If you try to bring your toes all the way down and you feel the low back is feeling uncomfortable, then that's a little too far. So then we'd stop and we'd maybe go halfway. Or again, if you're near a wall, say there's a wall right in front of you, you can let your toes tap on the wall. Maybe bring your toes to a sofa, a chair. Or if it feels okay, you can let the toes come to the ground. Because every time we lower down and then lift, we're really engaging the lower abdominals. So being very aware of those muscles as we lift and lower. So this is already a decent amount of work right here. So you can stay right here. But if your body is asking for more, we could turn this into kind of a scissoring movement where we let one leg lower, we can hold on behind the thigh or the calf, and then we'll switch sides. Now, it's not necessary to hold on at the leg. You can keep your arms next to the body. That's just an option. So it's yogi's choice. You can either turn this into a more fluid movement where you tap, tap, and then lift, and then tap, tap to the other side. Tap, tap, and lift. We can even alternate. And if you're, well, depending upon the pace that you're moving, you might notice it a little more in those lower abdominals. We'll do maybe just a couple more. So you can rest whenever you need to. And then giving ourselves a big hug, bring those knees into the chest. Maybe rocking them in, lifting the sacrum, and then letting the sacrum come back to the earth. So now we're going to bring our feet back to the ground, knees are bent. We're going to come into a side tapping motion. So this is almost like doing a little side crunch for our obliques again. We'll take both hands behind the head at first, so behind our ears, and then we'll take that right hand so that we're reaching for the right ankle. We'll come tap and tap. So every time you come to the side, we're doing that little bit of a side crunch. And if that's a little tricky, you can take your feet wider apart, or you can bring your feet closer together. The closer they are, the further you have to move. We're using that opposite hand for support under the head or behind the head. Do maybe two more. And then we'll bring that right hand behind the ear. Left hand comes and we'll reach for that left ankle. So again, little crunch there. We're breathing, so we make sure we're not holding the breath. If you feel like you're holding your breath, then maybe pause and take a break. And just a couple more of these. We'll come back center. Lift another inch, looking up towards the sky, and then lowering down. Knees come to chest. A big hug. If you'd like, you can bring the nose up to make the knees curling into a tight little ball. And exhaling, back of the head down, feet down. And we're going to come into a really easy twist. So we've done a lot of work for the core, done a lot of work for the lower back, the glutes. So now we're just going to let both the knees drop towards the front, open that back arm. Front hand can rest on the belly, or we can open those arms like wings. And you might turn to look towards that back hand. Or you can look up to the
Now that we're slowing everything down, you might even choose to close the eyes, bring your attention a little more inward. Just a couple more breaths right here. And then very slowly we'll bring our knees back up, allowing ourselves to kind of neutralize, so letting the spine neutralize and we come back to center, not being in a rush to go to that other side. And then once we feel settled here, we'll let our knees drop towards the back and then open our arms once again. It might feel good to have that left hand on the top thigh, or you can open. Just a couple more breaths right here. And then when you're ready, we'll come back to center. Finding any last pose or movement that you like. You might even want to revisit that supported bridge pose, restorative bridge, or maybe supported legs up the wall. Now you might prefer to come back to knees to chest, or maybe happy baby, or there might be another pose that your body's asking for after everything we've done. And just honor whatever your body's asking for. Being still or moving. Then whenever you're ready, coming back into Shavasana. So you might choose the position you started the practice in, you might choose something different, maybe laying on your side or your belly. Once again, whatever position you're choosing, allowing your body to fully connect to the earth. Bringing awareness to those different parts that are touching the ground. And again, asking yourself, what would it be like to sink 1% more into the ground? Can you relax 1% more? What would it be like to have just 1% more ease in the body? Allowing the mind and the body to slow down, absorbing the benefits of your practice. Be gentle with your heart. On this road, this journey to the heart, you will see more, feel more, and be more than you've ever been before. Your heart is open, your spirit is alive. You're open to all that the universe, life, and God hold for you. Because you're that open, you are more sensitive than ever to people, energies, places, things. You are more sensitive to any unresolved issues in yourself and in those around you. You are open, more open than you've ever been. Comfort yourself. Wrap yourself up in a blanket of love and hope. Know that you will be feeling, seeing, and taking in a great deal. Know that you will be healing at a deeper level than ever before. Most of the time, this will bring joy. But an open heart is not one-dimensional. Joy is not the only emotion it will embrace. Make room in your heart, room in your life, and time in your days to feel other feelings too. Anger, grief, fear, exuberance, tenderness, betrayal, and exhilaration. All the emotions an open heart feels. You're more open than you've ever been. Take gentle, loving care of yourself. Be tender with your heart. Bring some movement back into your body. As you slowly turn to one side with the knees bent. Using the hands to help lift to an easy, comfortable seat. Inhaling, we'll scoop the arms overhead, bringing the thumbs to the forehead for good thoughts, to the lips for good words, and to the hearts for good intentions. The divine light within me honors the divine light within you. Namaste. Thank you so much for sharing your practice with me.